Hello everybody, I'm Jacob Green from CTI 140. This is my presentation project for Taters Inc. and I will be using Linux Mint version 20. So let's look into what the situation for Taters Inc. is. So the scenario for Taters Inc. is that they are looking for a cost-cutting alternative to Windows. They are still with Windows 7. Taters Inc. has avoided upgrading from Windows 7 to save money, so they've been stuck with Windows 7 for a long time now, and it's pretty old, so they're in pretty dire need of upgrade, and they still aren't really wanting to fork over all that money to Windows. So let's see if what the solution or the option to this is. The most viable option to me would be Linux. The upsides of Linux are Linux is a free operating system with many different versions. For example, what I'm going to be showing you is Linux Mint version 20. And if I have enough time, I'll be showing a different Linux system called Linux Kali or Kali Linux. But either way, there are many different versions, all still run the same command prompts, command lines, so it still will all be relatively the same, or all Linux systems will be relatively the same. Linux is open source, and what that means is the source coding in Linux is open to be viewed, so you can look at that or make changes. That's kind of good for the IT staff, so they can get in there and figure some stuff out. And again, just reiterating that there's many versions of Linux, all come to no cost or little to no cost. You no longer have to deal with Windows updates. We all know how notoriously awful Windows updates can be, from updates that you need to roll back because they have done actual harm to your computer instead of updating it. That's just kind of a little funny side note. But the downsides of Linux, Linux is very different from Windows. If you sat down a Windows user that's used Windows all their life and has maybe never even heard of Linux or didn't even know that there was a different operating system besides Windows, they might have some difficulty getting adjusted to Linux. But that's why we are selecting Linux Mint, because it's most like Windows, and as well as Cinnamon, the desktop environment, which I'm about to talk about in my next slide. And then the other downside is the declining production of apps for Linux. Again, since Linux is not as popular as Windows, there's not a whole lot of apps being developed for Linux like there is for Windows. So there's still apps out there. There's still plenty of apps, but just not as many in production. But going on to desktop environments, when you do a fresh install of a Linux system, you get the option to select your desktop environment. For example, Linux Mint version 20, the one that I'm about to be showing you, it came in 3 options. One of them was Cinnamon, and that's the one we're going to be using today. But there's all kinds of options for all kinds of different Linux systems. So Before I start showing you Linux Cinnamon, I'm going to show you where I installed it and how or what the major updates in this new version of Linux Mint 20 are. So this is where I downloaded Linux Mint. I literally just search Linux Mint download and come here. And these are the other desktop environments I was talking about: Cinnamon, Mate, and XFCE. Cinnamon is the one we're going with, so I just clicked here, and then you select which server you're closest to download. But let's go ahead and look at our release notes here, or what's new in Cinnamon, or Linux Mint 2020. So the main thing that was new that I read about was this Warpinator. The Warpinator could let you share files across the local network. It was previously removed, but was just put back in this version of Linux Mint. So you could easily assign who was allowed access and who to receive files across the network. Yeah, just wanted to show that little part there. So taking a look at our freshly installed Linux VM, Linux comes with Firefox already installed, just a web browser. You can get other web browsers, but that's what it looks like, just opening up a normal web browser in there. And one app that comes with this is Thunderbird Mail. Go ahead and pull that up right here in the search bar, and you can see I do not have an email set up for this, but employees using this as their system would have it. It's very similar to Microsoft Outlook, if anyone's familiar with that. So you can see the dates and everything. You got an address book. Again, pretty common looking stuff here. One more app that comes installed with Linux Mint 20. I think with most Linux installs LibreOffice or Office. This is, your Microsoft Office basically. You can just go ahead and open up LibreOffice here. So again, you got everything from, this would be your Microsoft Word. Okay. And you see, just type in. Looks pretty similar. Don't save changes. I'm not going to open up the other ones, but you get the point. You got Calc spreadsheet, so that's basically Excel. That's PowerPoint, drawing, and everything else you'd find in Microsoft Office comes with LibreOffice, already on Linux Mint 20. One of the last apps that comes installed on Linux Mint 20 that I want to talk about is the Warpinator, what we were just looking at and reading about on the what's new for Linux Mint 20. Since we're not on a network with other computers, we won't be able to see anything on there, but just showing you that it's here. The Warpinator. So yeah, if I was connected to other computers that could send and receive files, they would be here, and then I would be able to mess around. I could open it up and change everything in there. But alright, let's look at some other apps I've installed myself. One app I installed is called Kazam. Kazam is a screen capture app, or it can take screenshots. So it would be good for projects that I'm doing right now. So right here you can see you can stream your screen or take a screenshot. I'll just take a screenshot here to show you. Just take to the whole area, press enter, click capture, and you save it. You can call it whatever you want up here. I'll just leave it there, save it, just pull it up really quick, make sure it's there, and yep, looks good. So yeah, this is a very important tool to have, so you're able to take screenshots and all that good stuff. Another app I installed is called Stacer. This could be compared to Windows Task Manager. I'll show you why. You can basically monitor your CPU usage, your memory usage, and your disk usage. Yeah, if you have ever Control Alt deleted on Windows and looked at your taskbar or your system info, you can see all that here. Yeah, you can see your startup apps, like what runs in startup. You can check your reports, crash reports, check the trash, search for stuff, turn services on or off, look how much percentage of your CPU is being used on certain um, programs, and you can also uninstall and yeah, just uninstall stuff from here, which is pretty handy. So I would say this is a pretty good app to have, just to be able to look at your diagnostics at a glance. Yeah, pretty vital to have. So the last app I want to look at that I've installed is called TimeShift. TimeShift will let you take snapshots, kind of like you could take a snapshot in a VM. You can save the state of your machine and everything on it, like drivers, documents, programs, everything on that will be saved into a snapshot, and you can recover everything from that snapshot. So like if I had already had one, I could restore it from this option up here. I have not actually made one. That would take a lot of time and a lot of space on my virtual machine I don't have. But up here we can go to settings, and when you're just loading this up for the first time, you'd have to select all of this right here, select where you want it to go. And the cool thing about TimeShift is you can select when you want the snapshots. You can set it to automatically. We got several options from on boot to hourly to daily, weekly, monthly. Some of those are a little excessive. I don't know who wants a snapshot every day. I'm sure there's someone out there, but yeah, you can even load up from other users, and yeah, you can select your type, and yeah, this it's good to have. It's also free, so no cost. It needs some kind of backup system with every kind of computer that you have, and this is a good option. Alright, I guess to close out the presentation, I would like to say to Taters Inc., by acknowledging you're switching to Linux, you are accepting a learning curve. So I'm assuming that they know that there is going to be a little bit of a learning curve that comes into this. But the reason I've chosen Linux Mint is because it is the most user-friendly compared to other Linux systems. So I hope Taters Inc. will throw this into consideration.